Welcome to Mission Central here in my office. In fact, I got farmers calling me even as I speak. Every time I seem to go on one of these live shows, I got more and more farmers always calling me. So I'll get back to them, no worries. But I wanted just to kind of go over briefly with you, what's been happening here at Harvest Harmonics. Obviously, in our office, let me turn this off. This is bugging me. Sorry, people call me all the time. But listen, the reason why we are working so hard here, we know the planting season is upon us in many areas. Here in Florida, they're just finishing up their planting for the spring crop. In California, they're just kind of getting going. All over the Midwest, they're kind of planning. Either they're starting now or in April or May, they're getting rolling. And now is the time, guys. We have a lot of guys jumping on board with us. And we're really motivated because we know that if we can really get a lot of people going on this program, the Crop Booster program this year, that we're going to see such big results and so much huge numbers that next year is going to be our best ever, and we're really going to roll this out all over the world. So really what we're offering you guys to really jump on board with this here in 2023 is a special program. It's a very simple set of testing protocols that you're probably doing a lot of anyway. But in our opinion, it's really important for farmers to pay attention to stuff. When you're looking at new things, when you're trying a new input, or it's new fertilizer, new pesticide, new seeds, new equipment, something like that, the biggest thing you have to pay attention to is how are you going to measure its effectiveness? Because if you just rely on the people selling you the product, of course, they're going to tell you, oh, this produced an amazing result, et cetera, right? But if you were able to just come up with some basic protocols that are not that difficult, then you'll be able to really evaluate the effects on your plants and on your crops and your soil, et cetera. So here are some of the things that we recommend that you test for when you're trying new products, okay? First of all, you always want to do a soil test. Now, a lot of farmers we talk to, they do a soil test every 2 or 3 years, and that's about it. That's totally fine in a normal course of business if your soil doesn't change much. But if you're testing something like a fertilizer or a new seed or something like that, you want to know a before and after. Like you want to know like how much nutrients is in the soil, and then you can kind of test results, right? When you have product boosters like ours, like our crop booster, you want to do soil tests on both the control field and the treated field because you want to see where your benchmark is. How did that soil start off with before you started using the product, okay? And then obviously at the end of the season, once you kind of run through a crop rotation, you want to do another soil test, right? You want to see in the same spot, same type of soil test, and see what were the changes that happened over the course of the season. Sometimes we recommend farmers do it every month, to really track those changes over time. And that can be very useful also. But at least once before and once after when you're trialing a new product is very important. Look, soil tests aren't that expensive. They're maybe $100, a couple $100 per test, and you really get a good nutrient baseline for what kind of nutrients and fertility you have in the beginning and at the end too. I also recommend at least once every few years doing a microbial analysis on your soil. And we have several vendors that we can work with or we can point you to that do a full microbial analysis, and they actually do a DNA test so they can break down what types of microbes you have in the soil. Not just do you have microbes in the soil, but which types do you have? Are they in good balance? Are they in good position? Do you have enough of nitrogen fixing bacteria in your soil? Do you have enough mycorrhizae in your soil? Do you have other factors that need to be there? Because sometimes when we get complaints about nematodes and other parasitic organisms in the soil, it's usually a matter of one of those other types of microbes are not in the soil in enough quantity to balance those things out. And so you get populations that get out of whack, okay? So you'll have too much of one and not enough of the other. And those imbalances is what creates those skyrocketing numbers where you have a lot of nematodes or a lot of insects that are killing the plants. So do a soil test every year. And if you're going to try something in the year, do a soil test of before and after, because you don't want to do a soil test. You don't want to, not do the soil test, not spend that couple $100 because you need to see what those changes are. And then again, a microbial test at least every 2 or 3 years or every 5 years at the bare minimum, and really get an idea of what the microbial life in your soil looks like. Because if you have a good organic matter, that's good. If you have good CEC in your soil, that's good. But if you don't have enough microbial life or they're not in good balance to each other, then that can cause problems with your productivity. Okay, so do that on a regular basis. We recommend leaf samples or tissue samples. Okay, depending on the type of crop, you may want to do those weekly, right? Or you may want to do those once a month, or you may want to do those just once or twice a season, depending on the type of crop you have. If you have tree fruit and that kind of stuff, you want to see how well the plants are absorbing those nutrients and utilizing those nutrients to produce fruit. Okay. You probably want to do keep track of how much pesticides and water and other things. Water meters are not that expensive to install. You can use that one time. A lot of times you can just run how much. You have sensors and stuff that measure the humidity in the soil and that kind of stuff, and those are obviously good measurements as far as water usage. If you're in a drought zone or areas where you have a lot of drought, you definitely want to use moisture sensors and whenever possible, so you can really tell when the plants need that moisture. Again, with our crop booster, we've noticed that in many instances you don't have as much need for water, and so you can actually back off on your irrigation schedule and maybe do it once a week instead of every two or three times a week during the peak season, right? That'll save you a lot of money in fuel costs. It'll save you some money in water in terms of when you're having a drought situation where you're going to get a good crop and you don't necessarily have to worry about drought stress. Okay, other types of things you want to make sure you're doing when we're doing trials, especially if it's on innovative type projects like a new system like our crop booster, a new fertilizer. Maybe you're going to regenerative or going to organic, those types of innovation trials. You want to make sure you're taking all of your expenses into account and logging all those expenses. And I'm talking about seeds, labor costs, installation costs, lab tests, any type of testing or cost associated with running that trial. You want to make sure you log all of that information, and then when you send all of your expenses to your accountant, make sure that they're taking that as an R&D tax credit, because the R&D tax credit is going to give you 100% of those expenses back on your taxes instead of just 20 or 30%. And that's very, very important. This is not a government program or a grant or anything you have to apply for. You just have to utilize that and log it correctly on your taxes, or your accountant should do that if you're not doing your own taxes. So make sure they understand about the R&D tax credit, because that's going to reimburse you 100% for doing that trial. And for those of you guys who are interested in our crop booster technology, which is producing 20 to 30% increases in yield across all plant varieties everywhere we're trying this, if you want to take advantage of this and you're doing this as an R&D tax credit, I highly recommend, if you're looking at doing a small trial like 5 or 10 acres, do 50 acres, do 100 acres as a trial. Why? Because you're going to get all those expenses back on R&D tax credits. And we have all the information to help you fill those forms out properly. So you get all of that money back anyway. So if you're going to get your money back anyway and you're doing a trial, why not do it in a larger area and really maximize your profitability while also deducting all the expenses off of your taxes to get 100% of the money back. So hopefully those tips helped you. I want to encourage more of you guys to be more innovative and really look to the future of farming, because again, if you haven't already figured this out, the old way of doing things with genetic modifications, overuse of chemicals, ruining the soil to get a good crop out this year is creating a lot more problems than it's solving. And of course, that we're not going to be able to continue that in a sustainable way for many years to come. So let's get innovative and let's look at ways that we can improve your farm, improve the efficiency of your farm, so that you can become part of the future of farming and still be there 10, 20, 30 years. Or if you're not going to be there because you're getting on and you want to retire, pass it along to your younger generations and pass it along to your kids so that they have a thriving, healthy, productive farm that they can have a good lifestyle and provide for their family while producing good food for all of us. Hope that helps, guys. We'll see you again next month, because it's today's last month of March, but hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Hopefully you guys will be giving me a call at 727-324-6750 or emailing me at service@harvestharmonics.com so that we can help you become part of the future of farming today.